Our webinar on today will highlight school improvement best practices. And we have Dr. Ronika Briscoe with us today from TNTP, who will dive right on in. I'm going to let her dive right on in and introduce our special guest for the webinar today and to pretty much give us a snippet of what's in store for our webinar.
Thank you so much, Keisha, for the introduction. I'm excited to have two extraordinary school leaders with us this afternoon who will introduce themselves in just a moment. Want to give just a quick overview of how we'll spend our time. 1 hour will go radically fast. So we'll start with just a quick introduction of our panelists. We have a few questions around the best practices that we'll be discussing today, instructional leadership teams, teacher collaboration, as well as observation and feedback. So then we will have just a short bit of time at the end for you to ask any questions that you may have. So please keep track of those questions on paper or drop them in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many as possible at the end. And then we'll be able to share a resource with you at the end. So we're excited to jump right in and get started. Panel discussion, leveraging best practices to improve student achievement. As I mentioned, we'll be focusing in on 3 big ones: instructional leadership teams, observation and feedback, and teacher collaboration. We'll start with introductions. Holly, if you go ahead and introduce yourself and your school. I think she's trying to come off mute.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my computer keeps freezing, it looks like. I'm sorry. So good afternoon. I'm very, very humbled today to be here, Ronika. I appreciate you inviting me. I'm very new to this school leader position, so I know I still have a lot to learn, but I have learned greatly and grown greatly over the past 4 years. So my name is Holly Eisworth. I am the principal at Belle Chase Elementary School, and this is my 5th year serving as principal. Prior to becoming principal, I was the school counselor at Belle Chase Elementary for 15 years. And becoming principal in 2018-19 has been a challenge since then. I haven't had a normal or uninterrupted year since then, but I can tell you that this year has a very different feeling for me and for my staff. It feels more close to normal than the past several years have felt. And it's also, it also has a very positive feeling. And I contribute that to the great
Okay, I think Holly froze.
And we currently serve 556 students in grades 2nd through 4th. And I have 70 people here on my staff. I'm extremely proud of the work that my teachers and leadership team put into our school improvement last year. We were very deliberate in what we did. We were deliberate in planning. We were deliberate in professional development and also in providing support and feedback. The TNTP team provided support for me and for my staff last year, especially Patty. They helped to facilitate the deep planning of lessons and also the support and feedback for the staff. So I'm excited to share some of the growth math index scores are a 90A and a 91A. So we're headed back to the top. We
Holly,
also had.
Can you repeat your growth index? You went out for a moment.
Okay, so yes, our ELA and math index scores, assessment index scores are almost what they were in 2019 pre-COVID. So we're back up to a 90A and a 91A in those scores. And then our progress index, which we just received, surpassed 2019. We are actually we have a 130.5 progress in ELA and a 130.8 progress in math. So I definitely celebrate those. We have the highest scores in our school district. And this was definitely a joint effort. I'm proud of my team. I'm proud of my school. But just like I told my staff, we've just started to scratch the surface, and we're going to continue to, stay our course towards excellent and improvement for our students.
Yes. And one of the times that you went out, I think you were giving a shout out to your leadership team. You said, I wouldn't be able to do this without and then you went out. So want to make sure that everybody here, you acknowledge your awesome team that, and you guys have been together for quite some time. So makes a difference.
Yes. So we do have a strong leadership team. There's only 4 of us on the team. The people on the screen, the gentleman is a new assistant principal. So the lady who is the assistant principal last year, Renika, has moved on to principal of Belle Chase Primary. So yes, so Ms. Cooper has moved on. So Mr. Uper has joined my team, but we picked up right where we left off. So we're in a good place.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Now we'll have Anne share about herself and her school.
Thanks, Renika. Thank you, Holly. I just want to say that the work all of you do on this call is the most important work there is to date. We've had many challenges in the educational arena, and I too am humbled to be on this call to share with you what we have learned from our experiences. We Hines Charter School, the flagship school, was destroyed in Katrina, and we chartered ourselves. And back in 2006, we are an open enrollment school that has grown in the last 2 years to 3 schools. And this has caused us to really put our model to the test. Can we do what we have done successfully at a flagship school, apply it to a slow grow, then apply it to a transformation school that's already grown, that's already fully enrolled? And, so far, I hate to put this out in the universe right now, but Hines Lakeview continues to perform as an A school. We weren't always an A school. After Katrina, we had a lot of work to do, and we've had a lot of work to do in this particular, these 3 topics that we're going to dive into. How do we develop leaders? How do we codify systems that then inform the culture of the school? And what do we value? What is explicitly the systems and the behaviors that we value, and how to monitor them in a very, very succinct way to get best outcomes. I am very excited about Hines Parkview. Hines Parkview has almost right around 470 students, and we've been here just one. This is our 2nd year, and we have a B in our growth index already. And I am excited. I'm somewhat affirmed in the systems that we do have in place, and never stop learning because what we do can be refined. But at the heart of what we do are teachers, teacher leaders. We have a very, very lean network. I have been in the position of teacher, instructional coach, principal, and now chief academic officer. And I've been in education for 27 years, started out in banking right out of college. I feel that corporate experience has also helped me in this position, understanding how finance works, but a very tight, distributed leadership program. And we are very much like you, Holly, at each of our schools, principal, assistant principal, an instructional coach, and a solutions coach or a solutions facilitator at the core of our flat distributed leadership model. So I can continue to talk about specifics about what we do. I could stop. You just let me know.
So Hines Lakeview is a pre-K 3?
Pre-K to 8.
Yeah, pre-K through 8th grade. Hines Parkview is the same.
K
right?
to 8. Mhm.
K8.
Mhm.
And then you have Hines UNO, which serves
Slow grow. We're K to 3rd right now, and every year we will grow through 8th grade. And actually, that school will be the largest. We anticipate 900 students, and by 2024, we will be servicing 22 to 2,400 students.
Yep.
Over across all 3 schools.
Yes. And so one of the things when you were talking about your growth and all of that you didn't say is that Hines Lakeview, in terms of outcomes this year, pretty much outperformed the whole entire district in NOLA Public Schools, in the next highest performing school by like double.
Yes.
So we're talking about exponential growth across both schools. So as we jump in, just want to keep that top of mind that, high performing leaders, high performing schools. So a little bit about TNTP. We have been in the state of Louisiana for over 20 years. We're a nonprofit and we support schools and school districts across the country and a lot of things, including academics, including strategic planning, as well as talent management. Over the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to serve in multiple capacities, including director and partner. So over the last week, I had the opportunity to meet many of you across the state through our Louisiana Department of Education School Supports Institutes. This is a shameless plug. We have been working alongside LDOE, and we have 5 different pathways, but today we're focusing on instructional leadership teams, observation and feedback, as well as teacher collaboration. Since my photo is still up there, I'll say this. I'm coming to you as a former teacher, instructional coach, curriculum coordinator, assistant principal, and principal. So this is definitely my jam, and I'm excited to jump into the questions. So both of you have introduced your leadership team. Oh, look, that's proof that the LDOE SSI pathways were all very fun. You see all of those participants in their smiling faces. So if you didn't get a chance to participate initially, definitely reach out to your sis, and we'd love to have you and your team join us as well. So as we jump into the questions for today, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a conversation. You guys talked already a little bit about your instructional leadership teams, but let's dig just a little bit deeper. Who are members of your team? How are roles and responsibilities determined? And tell us about a typical ILT meeting.
You want me to go, Holly, or would you like to go first? Okay. So each campus, as I've said, has a core of core leadership. We call them the admin team. It's made up of an instructional facilitator, a solutions facilitator, an assistant principal, and a principal. And if you think about a circle, extending out from that circle is an instructional half and hemisphere, and the bottom would be the solutions teams. So what we do is we have the master schedule allows for sets of meetings for these folks, everybody on your faculty to get together in one of these formats. Each instructional component, which is early childhood, second, third, fourth, fifth, middle school science, social studies, ELA, math, they are all led by a teacher leader. So we take time to invest in human capital, because when you look at your bottom line, that's your biggest, that's the biggest line item in your budget.
Yep.
So we really do take dedicated time to train up teachers as leaders, pay them a small stipend. I wish it could be more. And they lead team meetings, instructional teams first on it's job embedded week, twice, maybe 3 times a semester, a quarter. And everybody's part of that, one of those teams. Then on the other side, and they set instructional goals based on data using a reporting and planning guide that truly walks them through creating SMART goals. Who are they looking for? What are the barriers? All of those types of things. Action steps, and they monitor them throughout the quarter. Then on certain Mondays after school, you are also part of a solutions team. For example, community connections. So I could be a second grade teacher and I am creating an instructional goal with my team of maybe a literacy goal, right? And then I am then transferring that information to my solutions community connections team. So the community connections team understands what the various instructional goals are, and their job is to promote, lift, go out to the community, find resources to help support that goal. So we're at the same time, we're looking at goals and targets from 2 different aspects, instruction and solutions.
And tell us a little bit, for people who may not be familiar with your solutions team, their function and what it could be similar to in other networks or systems.
So our solutions teams, we have attendance, which is pretty much headed by the social worker. We have communications, we have student support, which handles RTI, MTSS. We have office support and facilities. We have school and family involvement. And the reason for all of these solutions teams is so that we have high alignment on what our overarching school goals are throughout the year, from the cafeteria workers all the way to our paras. Everybody knows what our goals are. And if it's for students to respond in complete sentences, then everyone in our campus has that expectation. It's very clearly articulated. Families know, everyone knows. And the other really great thing about our instructional teams and our solutions teams is that we follow a certain meeting protocol and agenda. And it cycles you through. Let's bring it up, bring it back, bring it on. What haven't we completed? And at the end of the meetings, what do we have to be prepared for the next meeting? But that does take a dedicated time and effort to work with teachers to become leaders, to be able to go through these processes and to set measurable goals.
Yes. So thank you so much, Anne, for that response. So I'm taking away 3 really important points that you've made. 1, the investment in teacher leaders. 2, the structure around both sides of the house so that they don't operate independently. And 3, making sure that there's clear, measurable goals that everyone on campus are invested in. So thank you so much. Holly, tell us a little bit about your instructional leadership team, the members of your team, and their roles and responsibilities.
So a little different for me from Anne's teams. My team consists of myself, my 2 assistant principals, my school counselor, and I do have this year someone that I have put into a type of coaching role. So what we did last year was to give us and to provide that support for teachers. Two of them went through the content leader training with Wit and Wisdom for ELA. So we wanted to provide that support for teachers that naturally teachers themselves can support each other a little better, a little easier than the administrative team having to provide all of that support. So we've invested time and of course resources into these teacher leaders, and it really has shown to pay off. Last year, the work that TNTP started with us and Patty being here to dive into ELA lessons and to create that understanding of how to deeply look at a lesson and plan for our students. We have continued that work with our content leaders. So it's provided, the TNTP support has provided our content leaders that additional support to pick up with that work this year. So basically, we meet weekly as an instructional or an admin team. We discuss the goals that we've set for all of our students, all of our teachers as a school, but then we each are providing support in different areas for my assistant principals and myself is that we do learning walks using an achievement level descriptor snapshot tool that someone in our district has created. So basically, we are trying to be sure that our students are being instructed and assessed on grade level. And so these little snapshots provide us with data to show what students, what classes, what grade levels are providing that on grade level instruction and assessing on grade level and where we need to go from there. So that is something that we added last year that we're continuing with this year. So we divide those learning walks between the 3 of us so that we can see all of our classes every week. So those are just a couple in addition to what Anne has mentioned as well.
Yes, so thank you so much.
Renika,
Yes.
if you don't mind, Holly just reminded me to say that we started this very important work years ago with TNTP. And today we just had a meeting earlier with one of our TNTP coaches. You know, the structure and coming from an outside of your organization looking in gives you a lot of insight. And we had to figure out the path that we could use in PLCs with teachers to internalize a lot of the content, right? A lot of the curriculum and ways that we can go about that. Because the point is for TNTP, which they did, they've come in, they've done different levels of coaching, they've led PLCs, they've modeled for us. And we're down to, we meet in person with them once a week, so that it really does, it's a model that we're able to sustain now. And I think that really is the goal. They've actually helped us with our IPGs and the core actions and what we're looking for and what they look like in a classroom, so that teachers have those rubrics in their hands. There's no surprise about the expectations. And when we do our informal and formal observations and our walks, the feedback they get is directly related to those different elements. So I totally forgot. I mean, hello, we're here partly because of you guys.
So definitely want to speak to something that both of you have brought up. You've touched on teacher collaboration and observation and feedback in your responses. So I want to go back to Holly because you talked about your learning walks and being focused around those indicators. So tell us, how do you ensure teachers feel supported through the observation and feedback cycle? And how do you, deliver that feedback in a way that they can hear it and then implement the feedback?
So we have two different types of learning walks. We have a day that we set aside every few weeks where we do learning walks that we're going in to look at general glows and grows for grade levels and for the school. So we provide, the teachers see that learning walk tool that we use. It's centered around the compass rubric. And so we go through and we take teachers on these walks also. So it's important for them. It's one of the highlights for them. They always tell me it's the best day when they can go and walk into their colleagues' classrooms to see what great things are happening in our school. We talk about it all the time, but for them to learn from each other is so valuable. So we collaborate after every room that we walk through. So we have a very short debrief after each class. We take some notes, and at the end of the walks, we meet together to debrief and talk about the feedback that we're going to provide the school as a whole. The achievement level descriptor snapshot tool walk, that was shared with all of the teachers last year through our district. So that feedback is provided after those walks as well. I put the feedback in writing to everyone. But after our learning walks, we have a sacred day that we do learning walks all morning, and then we meet in PLC meetings with the grade levels that very same day. So we're providing that feedback from the day of walks to them immediately. I still put it in writing. I still share it with everyone in case we didn't visit all of the classrooms. But that was something new that I wanted in place because I feel like there needs to be that conversation and, next steps discussed immediately. So it's only happened once so far this school year, but it's the teachers really valued that day and the information that was provided. Eventually my teacher, my content leader, my teacher leader, the person who's acting as a coach this year, she'll join those walks as well. We just have some staffing things right now. I have 7 people out on extended leave. So she is providing ELA instruction in 3rd grade at this time. But she will have a big role in those walks and the meetings as well, because she is our school PLC leader. So that will give her the opportunity to meet in the individual grade levels to further that learning and planning.
And what about you guys?
So we have a very similar system as Holly. We kind of categorize them as school site informal walks, where the admin teams go together. They will collect their data. So we've done a crosswalk between Compass, IPGs, and our literacy snapshot. And they, in this particular tool that we have just really begun using, it's a new platform for us. The indicators, though, are not new. It's just that it's in a platform, and the type of reporting we can gather from this platform is extremely valuable to us and keeps a running record. So when the team comes out through an observation, they talk, they collaborate, they'll put some notes in the system. The teacher is then informed. We gather trends, we gather opportunities, we gather grows, glows, all of those things, and then respond directly to the teachers. They receive that information in an email, and it also allows for that core team to understand the trends that are happening and how these trends directly inform PLCs, ITM, solutions teams, and the direction that these targets, these quarterly targets, need to move. And from that, then it leads to individual coaching. And we can also use this platform to support teachers on an individual basis. So we can nail this down all the way to a hashtag. So if we're looking for student engagement, we can actually put a hashtag and in one section, develop a report and see what percentage of the whole school is moving to refinement in student engagement. So it's a cycle that happens on a regular basis, and it's to inform all of those indicators back to being no surprise for teachers. It's very clear, it's communicated all of the time, and it ties back nicely to the vision of excellence that teachers created for instruction and for lesson planning.
Awesome.
And what's the platform called?
It's
that you
Grow,
use?
School Mint Grow. And I'm telling you, it has been wonderful. Really, really great. So if anybody wants to hear about it, and we were able to upload the regular tools that we used, we were able to upload them. They give you suggestions, but we really did tailor it to meet our needs.
So I think some of the things that I'm taking away from both of your responses, and I know to be true because I've been on both sites, this investment in teacher leaders. I think a lot of times teachers are in a place where they feel like things are being pushed down upon them, but on both of your campuses, teachers have a voice, they feel valued, they're engaged, they're participating in the learning walks, and they're also able to support their colleagues. Collaboration also came up in both of your responses as being huge, and that constant clarity and communication. Timely feedback, right? That's a huge piece. You go and visit a classroom, and then the teacher is like, hey, what did you think in the hallway?
Right.
You know, a couple of days later, because they haven't received the feedback. But when teachers get that feedback immediately, they know, one, that they're valued because you took the time to give them the feedback in the moment. Two, they have a good idea of what is going well and what they can refine right away. And three, they have some guidance, right? And so they're treated like a professional, which is huge and important for us as we see people exiting the profession at record numbers, right? And lastly, looking at the trends to help support your focus in professional learning communities, right? So, you know, switching gears a little bit to the teacher collaboration piece, what does that look like? Professional learning communities, both structured and unstructured ways, teacher collaboration happens on your campuses.
Holly, you want to go?
Sure. So our teachers meet in their grade level content teams twice a week. They meet to, of course, discuss their assessments and lessons and student data from that assessment. This year is the first year that we have moved to departmentalization in 3rd and 4th grade in quite some time. So our school's been self-contained in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade for many years now. So we're moving back to departmentalization in those 2 grades. So our grade level teams are very large. We have about 10 teachers in each of those grade levels. So of course that collaboration with 10 teachers at one time is often difficult. So what I'm finding this year is that they are able to meet in their content teams and be very intentional about what they're doing in those meetings. They are able to dive into the learn part of each of the lessons and discuss what's working in, you know, one classroom, which might not be working in another classroom. So again, they're collaborating and learning from each other, which is amazing. We also, I feel that it's very important that I provide time for collaboration. So at least once every quarter, I will allow about a half day for my teachers to be able to have uninterrupted collaboration. If there aren't days built into our schedule for this time, I will hire substitutes and make it very purposeful that our teachers are given this time, what I want it used for. And I can tell you that they are so grateful for the time. You know, it seems like, you know, they have planning periods and lunch periods and things like that, but it's just not enough time for them to be able to sit and work together to collaborate. So that's something that's very important to me that I've put into place over the past 4 years and that I continue to do. This year, starting this week, I'm going to have my 3rd grade team collaborate with my 4th grade team. I just find that in my school in particular, there's a big difference or disconnect from my students leaving 3rd grade and going to 4th grade, and what maybe the expectations are in 3rd and what they are in 4th. And so I really feel like it'll be valuable for my 3rd grade team to sit in my 4th grade classrooms this week to be able to observe their colleagues who they are sending their students to. And then they're going to meet in PLC together in their content teams to discuss, ask questions, receive feedback from 4th grade teachers, or, you know, just collaborate in a way that will help them grow professionally and to help their students to grow as well. So those are different types of collaborations that we have in place at this time, above and beyond, our normal meetings.
That vertical collaboration
Important.
is definitely important. So Anne, let's hear about what's happening with you all.
So we pull our teachers together weekly during PLCs, and we are able, the way we created our schedules, we're able to pull like first and second grade together at the same time. So, if there's one thing to hold true is that when you pull teachers together, if you're not impacting what they do in their classrooms, they're not going to find that time valuable. So we do a lot of asking, what is it you want? What do you want the topics to be? And this year, they really, because we switched to Eureka Squared, we've come up with a dual PLC schedule so that all teachers that teach math we're able to devote this first couple of quarters to math unpacking, what's important to them, sharing, bringing student work. And what's really great, and I think what you're referring to, Holly, is that you see if there's a teacher who is in third grade and they're talking about some maybe misconceptions and struggles students are having, a fourth grade teacher may say, well, let me tell you what we do in that particular skill, and this may help. And it's, sharing that kind of collaborative work that they then feel very, they begin to develop self-efficacy. And we see that, that builds collective efficacy for our teachers to want to engage in a PLC and not see it as, oh my God, I have to go to a PLC. I could be doing this. I could be doing that. So it's deliberate, but based on what teachers really need and value. And, the same goes for the leadership team. And I hate to use this term, but we call them bubbleheads because the graphic is everybody's in a circle, right? And so we bring those bubbleheads together and they collaborate on leadership and how to, what direction you want your PLC to take and how to empower all of those teachers around that singular voice, but having it embedded in the school day. And then one other thing that we've done this year is we've had PD days at the end of the school year. And what we have done, and again, it came up from teachers' ideas, is that in the middle of every single quarter, right around the fourth week, in the middle of the week on a Wednesday, it's called Impact Day. And students don't come to school, but this is a day that we just had our very first one for teachers to dig deeply into pacing maps. Where are we? Do we need to readjust some things? Where are our students? Like, what supports have I provided to these students that are not making the gains that I need them to make? And where do I need to go from here? And to collaborate with different grade levels. What resources, tier 1 resources am I using in the classroom? Am I pulling small groups? Am I using some of the science of reading strategies that I've learned and pull those in and strategically plan all of those things? And I can't tell you how great the feedback has been on the first one. They can't wait to start planning the second one. It just gives them a time to stop in the middle of the quarter, assess where we are, and make that deliberate plan. And the other thing we did was the after-school meetings. We used to call them a grade level meeting. Now we call them collaborative planning. And I think just changing that name, that our first grade teachers across all 3 campuses, that is a time for them to collaborate on specific content area across all 3 campuses. So they learn a lot from each other and develop relationships too, that they can call on this about your science lesson. Can you tell me more about that? And they don't even work in the same building. So, you know, we really deliberately focus schedules to be able to allow for that time.
Thanks for sharing, both Holly and Ann. And I just want to piggyback on Ann's Impact Day. One of the pieces of advice as I'm supporting leaders that I always give is having conferences with parents at the mid-semester versus the end of the semester, because report card conferences are too late, right? So if you're able to meet with your parents at the middle of the semester at your progress report time, then they have the opportunity to understand where their students are performing, where their kids are performing, and where they need to make changes. So Brandy and Keisha, I have 3 more questions that we can do rapid fire before we wrap up, because it seems like we've lost most of our participants. Is that okay? All right, so
Yeah.
these are just be quick rapid fire questions if you can answer in 30 seconds or less. And you've already said to answer this one, but how do you know which students are performing well and which students are in need of additional support?
So we have a process, a student review process that our teachers collaborate on. And they identify the students on this particular log, and we track them, and we keep track of what supports and their growth, and keep that is a living document, so that at all times that information is then brought to and talked about in admin meetings and PLCs and so on and so forth.
Awesome, thank you. Holly?
Our process is very similar.
Thank you. So the next rapid fire question: what systems and supports do you have in place to support your new teachers on campus?
So we have them with a mentor teacher. We also, I also have them this year. They have a mentor teacher as well as my person who's serving as a coach and an Accelerate teacher this year. So she is basically a second mentor for them. She actually goes in and does, she'll do lessons in their classroom for them to observe her. And then she'll teach through some things and work through some things with them, you know, with that gradual release process in place. So we provide them, you know, just because they're new teachers new teachers to me doesn't necessarily mean that they're new to the profession. So each one has a different type of support that we put into place, but it's definitely that mentor teacher, that professional development, and then also the coach that's supporting them.
Yeah. Very similar to Holly, we have an onboarding process before school starts. And then each instructional facilitator at each campus provides ongoing support as far as content area. Team teaches, has coaching sessions, and we also have a new teacher mentoring program where we meet with new teachers every 4 weeks. And it's not a very structured meeting because it's a what you need. Like, what do you need from us right now? What are you missing? Like, you may have heard this announcement, but you don't know what that actually means. It's kind of a not a very structured, but very supportive of whatever system they need.
Reminiscent of like freshman orientation in college. Yes,
Exactly. Survival. What do you need to survive?
Yes, survival. This is how you survive. This is how you do it. And you know, like, we really want our teachers not only to survive, but to thrive. And that's one of the reasons why I asked you guys here as well, because walking through your campuses, like, you can feel the love and passion towards the kids, but also towards the teachers. And I think that's a part that we are forgetting in some places. And
Right.
that warm, inviting, supportive culture is for everybody, not just,
Correct.
you know, we prioritize the kids, but it's for everybody on campus. So
Absolutely.
last question: what is the one piece of advice you would give leaders as it relates to any of the 3 best practices we've discussed today?
I think that in the absence of clarity in your leadership, people will make it up. And do you want people to make it up? You know?
Yeah.
I think
So
that's
Brown, my good friend, I don't know her in real life, but we're friends, we're besties. She always says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And that's the truth. So thank you for that piece of feedback. And Holly?
I feel that allowing teachers to have a voice, and making them feel that they are present in the instructional decisions that we're making is very important. And I tell my staff all the time, you know, I'm going to make the best decisions for our students. However, you know, you may not see that as the best decision for you, but I am valuing your feedback. I'm taking all of that into consideration. And so I think when teachers have a voice, and when they feel that they're heard and supported and loved, and cared about deeply, they perform so much better. And they, you know, they have the same vision and those same goals in mind for the success of their students and their school.
And Holly, you say that so eloquently, and all I can help think is that is what we want for our students as well, you know, and our environment that fosters that kind of adult modeling. You can't help but have that, you know, your kids succeed in that type of environment.
Absolutely.
So this has been extraordinary. Thank you guys so much for taking time to chat with us today. Super informative. I appreciate you, what you do on behalf of kids and teachers each and every day. And have a great rest of your week. Thanks for hanging out with us
Thank
on a
you.
Monday.
Thanks, Renika.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you so
everybody.
much for everything. And just a reminder, we have upcoming webinars each month, and also subscribing to our monthly principal newsletter as well. And if there are any questions, you may email louisianaleaders@la.gov with any questions, and we hope to see you all on Monday, October 31st for our next Practicing Principal webinar. Thank you.